It was just another Tuesday afternoon at City Bean's coffee shop. Jake sat in his usual corner spot, typing away on his laptop. He was a regular guy, 32 years old, working in advertising. Nothing special about him, really. He liked his coffee black, his work quiet, and his life predictable. But that Tuesday was different. That Tuesday, everything changed. Jake was checking his emails when he felt someone watching him. You know that feeling when you can sense eyes on you? That's exactly what happened. He looked up from his screen and saw her sitting 3 tables away. She was beautiful, sure, but something about her was different. Her dark hair fell perfectly over her shoulders, and she had these incredibly intense eyes that seemed to see right through him. She wasn't just looking at him, she was studying him, like he was the most interesting thing in the world. Jake tried to focus back on his work, but he couldn't shake the feeling. Every few minutes, he'd glance up, and she'd still be there, still watching. It wasn't creepy exactly, but it was definitely unusual. Most people look away when they get caught staring. Not her. Then something weird happened. Jake suddenly felt warm, really warm. Without thinking, he unzipped his jacket and took it off. Nothing strange about that, right? The coffee shop was pretty cozy, but then he felt even warmer. His hands moved to his shirt buttons, and before he knew it, he was unbuttoning his shirt. Wait, what was he doing? Jake stopped himself mid-button. He was in a public coffee shop, for crying out loud. People don't just take their shirts off in coffee shops. But the urge was so strong, so natural, like his body was acting on its own. He looked around, embarrassed, hoping nobody noticed his weird behavior. But when his eyes found the woman again, she was smiling. Not a regular smile, a knowing smile, like she understood something he didn't. Jake quickly buttoned his shirt back up and tried to focus on his laptop, but his concentration was shot. He kept thinking about that strange moment, that overwhelming urge to remove his shirt. It didn't make sense. He wasn't hot. The air conditioning was working fine. 5 minutes later, she walked over to his table. "Mind if I sit?" she asked, pointing to the empty chair across from him. Jake nodded, still confused about what had just happened. She sat down gracefully, like she belonged there, like this was all planned. "I'm Luna," she said, extending her hand. "Jake," he replied, shaking her hand. Her grip was firm, confident. "You seem troubled," Luna observed, tilting her head slightly. Jake laughed nervously. "Just work stuff. You know how it is. Actually, I think it's more than that," she said, her voice soft but certain. "You're questioning something that just happened. Something you can't explain." Jake's heart skipped. How could she know that? He hadn't told anyone about the shirt thing. Heck, he barely understood it himself. "I'm sorry. Do we know each other?" Jake asked, trying to keep his voice steady. Luna smiled again. "Not yet, but I know more about you than you might think. You live in the blue apartment building on Oak Street. You drive a silver car. You have a small scar on your left hand from when you were 8 years old." Jake looked down at his left hand. There it was, a tiny scar from when he'd fallen off his bike as a kid. His blood ran cold. How could she possibly know that? "Who are you?" he whispered. "I'm someone who understands the power of the mind," Luna said calmly. "What you experienced a few minutes ago, that wasn't random. That was your mind responding to influence." "What do you mean?" "Influence. Some people are naturally more open to suggestion than others. You, Jake, are one of those people. Your mind is like an open book, and I can read it." Jake wanted to get up and leave. Every logical part of his brain was screaming at him to run, but something kept him in his chair. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was the way Luna's eyes seemed to hold him in place. "That's impossible," Jake said, though his voice lacked conviction. "Is it?" Luna leaned forward slightly. "Think about what happened with your shirt. You felt warm, didn't you? An overwhelming urge to cool down? But it wasn't really about temperature, was it?" Jake's mouth went dry. She was right. He hadn't been hot at all. "How did you do that?" he asked. "The mind is powerful, Jake. More powerful than most people realize. Some individuals can influence others without saying a word. It's about reading body language, understanding psychology, knowing which buttons to push." Are you saying you made me want to take my shirt off? I'm saying your mind responded to certain cues. Whether you acted on them or not was still your choice. But Jake wasn't so sure about that. In that moment, it hadn't felt like a choice at all. It had felt like the most natural thing in the world. Why are you telling me this? Jake asked. Luna stood up, gathering her things. Because you're interesting, Jake. Most people can't be influenced so easily. But you're different, special. She reached into her purse and pulled out a small piece of paper with her phone number written on it. Call me when you want to understand more about what your mind can do, she said, placing the paper on the table. As Luna walked away, Jake sat there staring at the phone number. His rational mind told him to throw it away, to pretend this conversation never happened. But another part of him, a part he didn't fully understand, wanted to call her immediately. He folded the paper and put it in his pocket. That night, Jake couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about Luna's words, about the strange incident with his shirt, about how she seemed to know things about him that no stranger should know. He told himself it was all coincidence, that he was overthinking everything. But deep down, Jake knew something had changed. Something had awakened in him that afternoon. Something he couldn't ignore. The next morning, Jake found himself dialing Luna's number before he even realized what he was doing. She answered on the second ring. I was wondering when you'd call, she said. And Jake could hear the smile in her voice. I need to know more, Jake admitted. I thought you might, Luna replied. Meet me at the park on 5th Street at 2 o'clock. Come alone. Jake knew he should hang up. He knew he should forget about Luna and her mysterious abilities. But he couldn't. The curiosity was too strong, the pull too powerful. I'll be there, he said. As Jake hung up the phone, he realized he was about to step into something he might not be able to step back out of. But for some reason, that didn't scare him as much as it should have done. It excited him. Jake arrived at the park 15 minutes early. He couldn't help himself all morning. He'd been thinking about Luna and what she might show him. He found a bench near the fountain and waited, his leg bouncing with nervous energy when Luna appeared. She looked different somehow, more confident, like she owned the entire park. She wore a simple black dress and walked with purpose, her eyes scanning the area before settling on Jake. You came, she said, sitting beside him. I had to know more. Jake replied honestly. What you did yesterday, it's been driving me crazy. Luna smiled. Good. Curiosity is the first step toward understanding. But tell me, Jake, have you noticed anything else since yesterday? Jake frowned. What do you mean? Any strange impulses? Unusual thoughts? Maybe you found yourself doing things without really thinking about them? Jake's stomach dropped. There had been something. That morning, he'd gotten ready for work like always, but instead of taking his usual route, he'd driven down Maple Street. He couldn't explain why. The urge to turn left instead of right had been so strong, so natural. He'd only realized it afterward. How did you know? Jake asked quietly. Because once the door is open, it doesn't easily close, Luna explained. Your mind is learning to respond to influence. It's like a muscle that's been exercised for the first time. But you weren't even there this morning. How could you influence me from miles away? Luna stood up and began walking toward the pond. Jake followed without being asked, which made him pause. Had she somehow made him follow her, or was it his own choice? There are different types of influence, Jake, direct and indirect. What happened in the coffee shop was direct, but once someone's mind has been opened, it becomes more susceptible to patterns, to suggestions that were planted earlier. They stopped by the water's edge. Luna picked up a small stone and handed it to Jake. Throw this into the water, she said. Jake took the stone, but something felt off. Why? Just do it. Trust me. Jake found himself pulling his arm back, ready to throw. But then he stopped. Wait, are you making me want to do this? What do you think? Luna asked, her eyes twinkling. Jake looked at the stone in his hand. The urge to throw it was strong, almost overwhelming. But now that he was aware of it, he could feel the difference between his own desires and something else, something external. Pushing him? This is crazy, Jake said. but he threw the stone anyway. It skipped twice before sinking. Why did you throw it even though you knew I was influencing you? Luna asked. Jake thought about it. I don't know. It felt easier than fighting it. Exactly. Resistance takes energy. Going with the flow is natural. Comfortable. Most people choose the path of least resistance without even realizing it. They walked to another bench, this one more secluded. Luna sat, close enough that Jake could smell her perfume, something floral and hypnotic. I want to show you something else, Luna said. Close your eyes. Luna, I don't think, just for a moment. Trust me. Against his better judgment, Jake closed his eyes. Luna's voice became softer, more melodic. Think about your favorite childhood memory, she said. Really picture it. Where were you? What did you see? Jake found himself remembering the summer he was 10, playing in his grandmother's backyard. He could almost smell the roses, feel the warm grass under his feet. Now, Luna continued, imagine you're holding something in your left hand. Something small and smooth. Can you feel it? Jake's left hand tingled. He could swear he felt something there, even though he knew his hand was empty. Open your eyes. Luna said. Jake opened them and looked at his left hand. It was empty, of course. But the sensation lingered. He flexed his fingers, confused. How did you do that? He asked. I didn't do anything. Your mind did. I just gave it permission to experience something that wasn't there. Jake stared at his hand. Then at Luna. This is impossible, is it? People experience things that aren't there all the time. Dreams, memories, phantom sensations. The mind is incredibly powerful. Jake, it can create entire realities. Over the next hour, Luna showed Jake more examples. She had him imagine tasting different foods, feeling different temperatures, even hearing music that wasn't playing. Each time, the sensations felt real, even though Jake knew they were created by his own mind. Why are you showing me this? Jake asked as they prepared to leave. Because I think you're ready to understand something important. Luna said, what most people call reality is just a shared agreement. We all agree that this bench is brown, that the sky is blue, that water is wet. But what if I told you that your personal reality could be different? What if you could experience things that others can't? Jake felt a chill run down his spine. You're talking about changing how I see the world. I'm talking about expanding how you see the world. There are layers of experience that most people never access. Levels of consciousness that remain locked away, and you can unlock them. Luna smiled mysteriously. I can guide you, but the choice to walk through the door has to be yours. As they walked back toward the park entrance, Jake felt different. The world looked the same, but somehow more vivid. Colors seemed brighter, sounds clearer. It was like he'd been living his whole life with sunglasses on and had just taken them off. I want to see you again, Jake said as they reached the street. I know you do, Luna replied. But next time, the experiences will be more intense. Are you prepared for that? Jake nodded, though he wasn't sure what he was agreeing to. When? Tomorrow night, 8 o'clock. I'll text you the address. As Luna walked away, Jake stood on the sidewalk feeling like he was floating. The ordinary world around him seemed dull. Compared to what he'd just experienced, he wanted more, needed more. That night, Jake couldn't concentrate on anything. He kept thinking about Luna's words, about the sensation she'd helped him create. He found himself checking his phone every few minutes, waiting for her text. When it finally came, Jake's heart raced. The address was for an apartment building across town. Along with the address, Luna had sent a simple message, come alone. Bring an open mind. Jake knew he was getting in deeper than he planned. Part of him wanted to stop, to return to his normal, predictable life. But a bigger part of him was curious, excited, hungry for whatever Luna would show him next. He saved the address in his phone and started counting down the hours until tomorrow night. Something told him that after tomorrow, nothing would ever be the same again. Jake stood outside the apartment building at exactly 8 o'clock. His hands were shaking, though he couldn't tell if it was from excitement or fear. The building was older, with red brick and tall windows. Nothing special about it, but somehow, it felt different tonight. He climbed to the third floor and found apartment 3B. Before he could knock, the door opened. Luna stood there wearing a simple white sweater and jeans, looking perfectly normal. But her eyes held that same intense look he'd seen before. "Right on time," she said, stepping aside to let him in. The apartment was smaller than Jake expected. Clean and minimalist, with soft lighting and comfortable furniture. Books lined one wall. And Jake noticed they were all about psychology, the mind, and human behavior. "Make yourself comfortable," Luna said, gesturing to the couch. "Would you like some tea?" "Sure," Jake replied, though he wasn't really thirsty. He just needed something to do with his hands. As Luna prepared the tea, Jake looked around more carefully. There were notebooks scattered on a desk, filled with handwriting he couldn't read from where he sat. A strange feeling crept over him, like he was being studied, cataloged. "Here we go," Luna said, bringing over two steaming mugs. She sat beside him, closer than necessary. "So what's tonight about?" Jake asked, taking a sip. The tea was warm and had a strange, almost sweet taste. "Tonight is about taking the next step," Luna said. "Yesterday, I showed you how your mind can create sensations. Tonight, I want to show you how it can create experiences." "What's the difference?" "Sensations are simple. Feeling something in your hand, tasting something that isn't there. Experiences are more complex. They involve memory, emotion, even time itself." Jake felt a warm sensation spreading through his chest. The tea was working its way through his system, making him feel relaxed and open. "I want you to think about your daily routine," Luna said, her voice taking on that soft, melodic quality again. "Tell me about your morning." Jake found himself talking easily, describing how he woke up, showered, made coffee, drove to work. As he spoke, he noticed Luna was taking notes in a small notebook. "And when you drive to work, which route do you take?" she asked. "Usually Main Street, but lately I've been going down Maple Street instead." "I can't really explain why," Luna smiled. "That's because I suggested it. During our first meeting, I planted the idea that Maple Street would be a better route. Your mind accepted it and made it feel like your own choice." Jake's stomach dropped. "You mean every time I went that way, it wasn't my decision, it was your decision, but it was based on a suggestion I gave you." The mind is very good at making external suggestions feel like personal choices. Jake set down his tea mug with shaking hands. "What else have you made me do?" "Nothing harmful," Luna said calmly. "Small things. The coffee shop you went to yesterday. For lunch, the shirt you chose to wear today. The time you decided to call me. All influenced. But all your choice in the end." Jake looked down at his blue shirt. He'd chosen it that morning without thinking, but now he wondered if it had really been his choice at all. "Why are you doing this to me?" he asked. "Because I want to show you something incredible," Luna said. "Most people live their entire lives following suggestions from others, advertisements, social pressure, family expectations. They think they're making their own choices, but they're not. I'm showing you how it really works, by controlling me, by freeing you. Once you understand how influence works, you can choose whether to accept it or not. Right now, you're living in a cage you can't even see." Luna stood up and walked to her bookshelf. She pulled out a thick notebook and brought it back to the couch. "I want to show you something," she said, opening the notebook. "This is a record of everyone I've worked with over the past 2 years." Jake looked at the pages. There were names, dates, and detailed notes about different people. His heart raced as he saw his own name at the top of the most recent page. "You've been keeping notes on me?" he asked. "I keep notes on everyone. It's important to track progress, to see how different minds respond to different approaches." Jake flipped through the pages. There were dozens of names, each with detailed observations about their behavior, their weaknesses, their responses to various suggestions. "This is insane," Jake said. "You're treating people like lab rats. I'm helping them understand themselves." Luna corrected. "Look at this one." She pointed to a page about someone named Alex. "He came to me because he couldn't make decisions, always asking others what to do, never trusting his own judgment. I taught him to recognize when his thoughts were his own and when they were influenced by others. And this one," Jake pointed, To another page, she was addicted to social media, constantly seeking approval from strangers. I showed her how those platforms were designed to influence her behavior. Now she's free from that need. Jake kept reading. Some of the stories sounded positive, but others were disturbing. There were notes about people who had changed their entire lives based on Luna's suggestions. People who had quit jobs, ended relationships, moved to different cities. Some of these people made huge life changes, Jake said. Did you make them do that? I helped them see possibilities they couldn't see before. But the choices were always theirs. Jake wasn't so sure. The more he read, the more he realized how deep Luna's influence ran. She hadn't just made small suggestions. She had guided people through major life decisions. What about me? Jake asked. What's your plan for me? Luna closed the notebook and looked at him with those intense eyes. You're different, Jake. Most people can only be influenced to a certain degree. But you're incredibly receptive. Your mind is like clay, ready to be shaped. Shaped into what? Into whatever you want it to become. I can help you overcome fears, break bad habits, become more confident. I can show you how to influence others the way I influence you. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. You want to teach me to do what you do. I want to show you your potential. But first, you need to understand how completely your mind can be guided. Luna moved closer to him on the couch. Close your eyes, she said. Luna, I don't think, trust me, just like before. Jake closed his eyes, and Luna began speaking in that soft, hypnotic voice. She talked about relaxation, about letting go of control, about trusting her completely. Jake felt himself sinking deeper into the couch, his mind becoming foggy and compliant. Now, Luna said, I want you to forget about your doubts. Forget about the notebook. Focus only on how good it feels to let someone else make the decisions. For you, Jake felt a wave of relief wash over him. She was right. It did feel good to let go, to not have to think or worry or choose. It was like being wrapped in a warm blanket. When you wake up tomorrow, Luna continued, you'll quit your job. You'll tell them you need to focus on more important things. You'll spend your days learning from me instead. Some part of Jake's mind screamed in protest. But it was a distant voice, easily ignored. Luna's words felt true, felt right. Now open your eyes, Luna said. Jake opened his eyes and looked at Luna. She was smiling. But something in her expression had changed. There was a satisfaction there, a sense of accomplishment. How do you feel? She asked. Good, Jake replied, though he wasn't sure why. Really good. I'm glad. I think we're going to do great things together, Jake. Great things. As Jake left the apartment that night, he felt like he was floating. The world seemed brighter, more hopeful. He couldn't wait to see what tomorrow would bring. But somewhere in the back of his mind, a small voice was whispering that something was very, very wrong. Jake woke up the next morning with a strange feeling in his chest. Something was different, but he couldn't put his finger on what. He went through his usual routine, shower, coffee, getting dressed for work. But as he reached for his car keys, he stopped. Work? Why was he going to work? The thought felt foreign, like trying to remember a dream. He had more important things to do today. He needed to call his boss and quit his job. The idea felt natural, right, like it was his own decision. Jake picked up his phone and dialed his office number. His boss answered on the third ring. Hey Tom, it's Jake. I need to talk to you about something important. Sure. What's up? I'm quitting. Today's my last day. Actually, I won't be coming in at all. There was silence on the other end. Jake, are you feeling okay? You've been acting strange lately. Missing meetings. Seeming distracted, Jake paused. Had he been missing meetings? He couldn't remember. I'm fine. I just need to focus on more important things. What things, Jake? You've been with the company for 5 years. You can't just quit over the phone. I can and I am. I'll email you my resignation letter. Jake hung up before his boss could respond. He felt good about the decision, proud even, but somewhere in the back of his mind, that small voice was getting louder. What had he just done? An hour later, Jake was driving to Luna's apartment. He hadn't planned to go there, but his car seemed to steer itself in that direction. When he arrived, Luna was waiting for him outside the building. "I heard you quit your job," she said, smiling. "How does it feel?" "Good," Jake replied automatically. "Really good." But as they walked up to her apartment, doubts started creeping in. Had he told Luna he was going to quit? He couldn't remember mentioning it. How did she know? Inside the apartment, Luna made tea again. The same sweet-tasting tea from the night before. As Jake drank it, he felt that familiar warmth spreading through his body, making him relaxed and open. "I want to show you something new today," Luna said, sitting close to him. "Something that will help you understand your true potential." She pulled out a different notebook, this one filled with photographs. As she flipped through the pages, Jake saw pictures of people he didn't recognize. But something about them looked familiar. "These are some of my most successful students," Luna explained. "People who learn to harness their mental abilities." Jake studied the photos. The people looked happy, confident, but there was something else in their eyes. Something empty, like they were looking at the world through a fog. "What happened to them?" Jake asked. "They found their true selves. They stopped fighting against their nature and learned to embrace guidance." "Where are they now?" Luna's smile faltered for just a moment. "They've moved on to new phases of their lives. Some are teaching others, spreading what they learned. Others are living quietly, content with their new understanding." Jake flipped through more pages. There were dozens of photos, spanning what looked like several years. "How long have you been doing this?" "Long enough to perfect the process." "You're not my first student, Jake, but you might be my most important one." "Why?" "Because your mind is incredibly receptive. Most people fight against influence, even when it's good for them. But you accept it naturally. You could help me reach so many others." Jake felt a chill despite the warm tea. "You want me to help you influence other people?" "I want you to help me free other people, just like I freed you. But I don't feel free. I feel—" Jake struggled to find the words. "I feel like I'm watching my life happen to someone else." Luna's expression hardened. "That's just the adjustment period. Soon you'll realize that what you're experiencing is true freedom. Freedom from doubt, from difficult decisions, from the burden of choice." Jake set down his tea mug with shaking hands. "I want to go home." "Why? What's at home for you now? You quit your job. Remember, you told me yourself that you wanted to focus on more important things." "I don't remember saying that." "You did. Last night, you were so excited about the possibilities." Jake tried to remember, but his memories from the previous evening were hazy. He remembered the notebook, the photos, Luna's soothing voice. But the details were blurry, like trying to see through frosted glass. "I think I need some space to think," Jake said, starting to stand up. "Sit down," Luna said firmly. Jake found himself sitting back down before he realized what he was doing. The command had bypassed his conscious mind completely. "Luna, what are you doing to me?" "I'm helping you, Jake, just like I help all the others." "You're fighting against something. That's good for you." "What happened to the others?" "Really?" Luna was quiet for a long moment. "They found peace. They stopped struggling against their nature." "That's not an answer." "It's the only answer you need." Jake felt panic rising in his chest. He tried to stand again, but his body wouldn't respond. It was like his mind and his body were disconnected. "Let me go," he said. "I can't do that. You're too important, too valuable." "Valuable for what?" "For the research, for helping others, for proving that the human mind can be completely reshaped." Jake's blood ran cold. "Reshaped into what?" "Into whatever I need it to be." For the first time since meeting Luna, Jake felt truly afraid. He realized he wasn't her student or her patient. He was her experiment. "The tea," Jake said suddenly. "What's in the tea?" "Just something to help you relax, to make you more open to suggestion." "You've been drugging me. I've been helping you." "Without the tea, your mind would fight against the process. This way is gentler, more natural." Jake tried to think clearly, but his thoughts felt thick and slow. "How long have you been giving me this stuff?" "Since the beginning, even at the coffee shop. I added it to your coffee while you were distracted." Jake remembered that first day, how he'd felt that strange urge to remove his shirt. It hadn't been Luna's mental powers at all. It had been chemicals. You're not psychic, Jake said. You're just a person who drugs people and manipulates them. I'm a researcher. I study the limits of human consciousness and free will. You're helping me make important discoveries by destroying people's lives, by freeing them from the illusion of choice. Most people are miserable because they have too many options, too many decisions to make. I remove that burden. Jake felt a surge of anger cut through the fog in his mind. You're sick. I'm innovative, and you're going to help me reach more people. Never. Luna smiled. But there was no warmth in it. You don't have a choice, Jake. You haven't had a choice since the moment you walked into that coffee shop. Jake tried to stand again, and this time he managed to get to his feet. His legs were shaky, but he could move. Luna looked surprised. That's impressive, she said. Your mind is fighting the influence even under chemical suppression. You really are special. Jake stumbled toward the door, but Luna moved to block his path. I can't let you leave, she said. Not now. Not when we're so close to a breakthrough. Get out of my way. Or what? You'll call the police. Who will believe you? You quit your job this morning, remember? You'll sound like someone having a mental breakdown. Jake realized she was right. He'd isolated himself from his normal life. No one would believe his story about mind control and drug tea. But he had to try. He had to get away from Luna and find a way to break free from whatever she'd done to him. I'm leaving, Jake said, pushing past her. You'll be back, Luna called after him. The conditioning doesn't just go away. You'll find yourself drawn back here, no matter how hard you try to stay away. Jake didn't answer. He just kept walking, out of the apartment, down the stairs, and into the street. With each step, his mind felt a little clearer, a little more his own. But Luna's words echoed in his head. Would he be back? Was he strong enough to break free? Or was he just another failed experiment walking around in a daze? As Jake got into his car, he realized he was about to find out just how much of his mind was still his own. Jake drove aimlessly for hours, trying to clear his head. The further he got from Luna's apartment, the more his mind seemed to belong to him again. But her words kept echoing in his thoughts. Was he really free, or was this just another part of her plan? He pulled into a parking lot and sat in his car, trying to think. His phone buzzed with a text message. It was from Luna. You can run, but you can't hide from what you've become. Come back when you're ready to accept the truth. Jake deleted the message, but his hands were shaking. He needed help, but who would believe him? He quit his job that morning without any real explanation. His friends would think he was having a breakdown. Then he remembered something. Luna's notebook. She'd said she kept records of everyone she'd worked with. If he could get that notebook, he'd have proof of what she was doing to people. Jake drove to the police station. But as he sat in the parking lot, he realized how crazy his story would sound. A woman who could control minds with tea and psychological tricks. They'd probably have him committed. He needed a different approach. He needed to find someone who would understand what Luna was doing from a scientific perspective. Jake remembered seeing psychology books in Luna's apartment. Maybe he could find a psychologist who specialized in manipulation and influence. Someone who would recognize the techniques Luna was using. He drove to the local university and found the psychology department. It was late afternoon, but there were still a few professors in their offices. Jake knocked on the door of Dr. Peterson, whose nameplate indicated he specialized in behavioral psychology. Can I help you? Dr. Peterson asked. He was an older man with kind eyes and a gentle demeanor. I think I'm being psychologically manipulated, Jake said. I need to know if what I'm experiencing is real or if I'm losing my mind. Dr. Peterson invited Jake into his office and listened carefully as Jake told his story. He didn't mention the mind control aspects, just the psychological manipulation and the effects of the tea. What you're describing sounds like a combination of hypnosis, neuro-linguistic programming, and chemical enhancement, Dr. Peterson said. It's definitely possible to influence someone's behavior using these techniques. So I'm not crazy. You're not crazy, but you are in a dangerous situation. The person you're describing sounds like they have advanced knowledge of psychological manipulation. They could be causing serious harm. What should I do? First, you need to avoid any contact with this person. Second, you should report this to the authorities. What they're doing is illegal. But I don't have any proof. Then we need to get proof. Can you think of any way to safely document what they're doing? Jake thought about Luna's notebook. If he could get his hands on it, he'd have all the proof he needed. But going back to her apartment would be dangerous. There might be a way, Jake said. But I'd need help. Dr. Peterson considered this. I can't officially help you with anything illegal, but I can give you some advice. If you decide to gather evidence, make sure you have backup. Don't go alone. Jake left the university feeling more hopeful than he had in weeks. He had a plan, and more importantly, he had confirmation that what was happening to him was real. But first, he needed to deal with the immediate problem. Luna's conditioning was still affecting him. Even now, he felt a pull to return to her apartment. To submit to her influence, he needed to break free from that mental programming. Jake spent the next few days avoiding Luna's calls and texts. He stayed away from places where she might find him. Gradually, his mind began to clear. The urges to follow her suggestions grew weaker. But Luna wasn't giving up. She started showing up at places Jake frequented. The coffee shop, the grocery store, even his apartment building. Each time he saw her, Jake felt that familiar pull, that desire to give into her control. On the fourth day, Jake realized he couldn't keep running forever. Luna was becoming more aggressive, more desperate. She was clearly losing control of the situation, which made her more dangerous. Jake decided to take action. He called his friend Ryan, someone he'd known since college. Ryan was a journalist who specialized in investigative reporting. I need your help with something, Jake said, and you're probably going to think I'm crazy. Jake told Ryan everything. About Luna, about the manipulation, about the notebook full of victims. To his surprise, Ryan believed him. This sounds like a story I've been tracking, Ryan said. There have been reports of people making sudden, dramatic life changes after meeting a mysterious woman. Some have disappeared entirely. You mean Luna has done this to others? I think so, and I think she's been operating for years, moving from city to city. You might be her latest target, but you're not her first. Ryan agreed to help Jake gather evidence. They came up with a plan to safely document Luna's activities and get the proof they needed to stop her. The next evening, Jake called Luna. I want to come back, he said, trying to sound defeated. You were right. I can't fight this anymore. I knew you'd see reason, Luna said, satisfaction clear in her voice. Come to my apartment. We have a lot of work to do. Jake agreed to meet her, but this time he wasn't going alone. Ryan would be nearby with recording equipment, ready to document whatever happened. When Jake arrived at Luna's apartment, she greeted him with that same confident smile. I'm glad you came to your senses, she said. Most people fight much longer than you did. I'm tired of fighting, Jake said, playing his part. Luna led him inside and began preparing the tea. This time, Jake pretended to drink it while actually spilling most of it when she wasn't looking. Now, Luna said, let's talk about your future. I have big plans for you. She pulled out her notebook and began showing Jake detailed plans for expanding her operation. She talked about finding more subjects, about setting up locations in other cities, about creating a network of people under her influence. This is incredible, Jake said, secretly recording everything on his phone. You've really thought this through. I've been perfecting this system for years. Luna said proudly, you're going to help me take it to the next level. For the next hour, Luna revealed the full scope of her operations. She showed Jake files on dozens of people she'd manipulated, including several who had completely disappeared from their normal lives. What happened to them? Jake asked. They're living new lives, free from the burden of choice. Some are working for me in other cities. Others are simply existing in a state of perfect contentment. Jake felt sick. Luna wasn't just manipulating people. She was destroying their lives and calling it freedom. I have something I need to show you, Luna said, walking to a closet. She pulled out a small box filled with vials of clear liquid. This is a more concentrated version of what I've been giving you. With this, the transformation becomes permanent. Permanent? No. More fighting. No more doubt. Complete acceptance of guidance. You'll be the first to receive the full treatment. Jake realized he was in serious danger. Luna wasn't just planning to continue manipulating him. She was planning to make the effects permanent. I need to use the bathroom, Jake said. Of course. But don't take too long. We have important work to do. Jake went to the bathroom and quickly sent a text to Ryan. Call the police now. She's planning something permanent. When Jake came back, Luna was preparing a syringe with a clear liquid. This won't hurt, she said. In fact, you'll feel better than you ever have before. Actually, Jake said, I think I feel pretty good right now. Luna looked confused. What do you mean? I mean, I never drank your tea tonight, and I've been recording everything you've said for the past hour. Luna's face went pale. That's impossible. You're under my influence. You have to do what I say. Not anymore, Jake said. I got help. I learned how to recognize your tricks, and now I'm going to stop you. Luna lunged for the syringe, but Jake was ready. He grabbed her wrist and held her back. Let me go, Luna screamed. You don't understand what you're doing. I'm helping people. You're destroying people, Jake said. And it ends now. Sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. Ryan had called the police, and they were on their way. Luna's confident mask finally cracked. She looked desperate, frightened, like a cornered animal. You'll regret this, she said. Without my guidance, you'll go back to being weak, confused, unhappy. Maybe, Jake said. But at least I'll be free. The police arrived and arrested Luna based on the evidence Jake and Ryan had gathered. Her notebook contained detailed records of psychological manipulation, and her apartment was filled with the chemicals she'd been using to enhance her influence. In the weeks that followed, Jake worked with authorities to identify and help Luna's other victims. Some were found living in other cities. Their identities completely changed. Others had been missing for years. Jake also worked with Dr. Peterson to recover from the psychological effects of Luna's manipulation. It took months of therapy, but gradually he regained his sense of self. The experience changed Jake forever. He learned to trust his own thoughts and feelings, to recognize when someone was trying to influence him. Most importantly, he learned that true freedom comes not from having someone else make your choices, but from having the strength to make your own. Luna was sentenced to prison for her crimes, but Jake knew the effects of her actions would last much longer. The people she manipulated would need years to recover, if they ever fully could.